Hello, and welcome to Metachemistry. This is episode 104, and with the delays in N5, we thought that we would talk about what we're spending our time on and maybe give some ideas in terms of things that people might do while we wait for the 5th edition of Infinity to release. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster with initial news being around mid-October, and then finding out, like, okay, well, the actual date's going to be in mid-November, and now we have before Christmas, so it should be soon, thankfully. But I know that there's a lot of tense waiting while we get tidbits of rules and profiles and things coming through. But before we start talking about that, we want to give a shout out to Mo Games, the sponsor of Metachemistry. And you can buy these new miniatures at mogames.com, mo-games.com. And as part of their sponsorship of our show, any of our paid patrons get a 10% discount code at their store. And just by being part of our Discord, you're entered into a raffle for a $40 coupon code each month. Because what's better than games? Mo Games. And speaking of Mo Games, there is going to be the Battle by the Beach coming up in March. So that is March 8th and 9th of this coming year. Details are in the sponsor news channel of our Discord, as well as posted on the Metachemistry and Mo Games Facebook pages. So you can find links there. But that event will be at the Hotel Paradox in Santa Cruz. $129 group rate for the hotel, and the event itself registration is $80, but $90 if you wait till February 1st or later. And missions are to be announced. Now, also, another event that's coming up on the opposite side of the United States, there is a super beginner-friendly Infinity tournament that's going to be happening at Squablin Goblin in Belmont, Massachusetts. That's going to be Sunday, December 8th. It's a one-day event with 3 rounds, 300 points, 2 lists, and is there to help people onboard into the game. So with that, Ian, how have you been since? I know we took a 1-episode break release cycle. We were initially planning to kind of binge through the rulebook on the Monday that it dropped, and then record and try and turn it around the next day. And that plan was very thoroughly foiled.
I mean, we would have done it if we got any rules.
It's where I'd put my N5 First Impressions episode, if I had any.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's been fine. I've been busy anyway. Yesterday and the day before were my first days off from work in 6 weeks. So,
Oof.
Yeah,
that's rough.
Had some people out on medical leave and things like that. So it's been kind of a rough spot through the holiday. So finally got a couple of days off, and I did a whole lot of nothing.
That's reasonable. So yeah, I don't blame you. I had been having a hard time getting Games of Infinity in lately, but I did get 1.5 games in just recently, just before Thanksgiving. Thursdays is locally the game night that I go to. And so 2 weeks ago, as of recording, we did a Sandtrap box battle. So we played the 7v7 of Shinden Butai and Kestrel Colonial Force. That was very brief. I was playing friend of the channel, Trevor, and yeah, we had a very simple kind of control the center sort of mission, and yeah, I dropped like a model or 2 on my turn going first as Kestrel, and then the other 5 models all died in ARO on Trevor's first turn, which was very surprising. And then, we walked onto the objective and called it there. So that was a half game-ish, maybe slightly less. And then got a chance to play an N4 300-point game against Shock Army, because one of our locals here is trying to get some use out of factions that are going to be leaving after N5 drops. So, yeah, Bogmari, Guardia Salto, regular sappers, all the good stuff. And I played OSS. It wasn't Tunguska this time. I did something different.
Not that different.
Hey, I played a tag. That's different. I don't play the Salamandra that often.
You play the Salamandra in OSS?
No, I'm saying it's different than Tunguska because I play the Marut and I don't play the Salamander that much.
Okay.
Which I don't have a good reason not to, but I just find a lot of the mid-tier stuff in Tunguska more interesting.
I mean, I get it that we're in a in-between spot and we're just making stuff up now.
Yeah.
Just take whatever you want.
It's all legal until confirmed otherwise. That's it. But yeah, so that was fun getting a game in. It's been a little bit tricky. And so that's kind of what spurred this episode a little bit, as well as some related suggestions on our Discord, which, speaking of which, our Discord is in the show notes. It's free to jump on. And so if there's stuff you want to hear about or you have feedback on episodes, that's a great place. I like to think that we're very responsive. And so, yeah, if you want to influence the show or tell us what you think, that's a really good place to do it. So, yeah, I think that it's not unique to our meta that it's kind of a weird lull and people don't seem quite as interested in playing Infinity lately. I feel like the last 2, 3, maybe 2.5 months have kind of been like that. And I feel like it's been getting a little bit harder and a little bit harder as we go along because we thought that it would be out by now, and that hasn't quite been the case. Is it kind of your experience as well?
Yeah, it's been a little rough. Just said like not having the rules, not having the models, not having anything to really kind of go off of right now is making it kind of hard to not only get a game but to kind of want to get a game. Because it's just like, I mean, it's fine. I guess, let's play some other stuff for right now.
Yeah, and I think that I've been interested in playing, and I've been wanting to play Infinity because I have been missing a fair number of games over the last couple months. And so I haven't been able to get very many games. I've been interested, but haven't found games quite as easily lately because I think there's a lot of people in a holding pattern. And I totally understand why. It's like, okay, we know new stuff is supposed to be here, either very soon or now relatively soon. And people just want to play with that. And especially now that there's been this kind of constant drip of profiles where we're seeing, usually a couple profiles every weekday of new and interesting things and modifications to units, some big and some small, but all of them are pretty positive, I think. There are a couple things that it's like, oh, well, maybe that's a side grade, maybe, but generally speaking, I think everything seems to be better in some capacity. I don't think anything has gotten just straight worse. I don't know if you can think of anything that has, but I can't.
Not really. Or if it did, it got a lot cheaper.
Right, sure. But yeah, so I think that there's a lot of interest and excitement around that and how sectorials are going to look, and a lot of, okay, we're on the cusp and I'm ready for the new thing. It's just not here to actually use. And I can see that being kind of maybe not discouraging as much as feeling like N4 is already over because we've seen a fair bit of N5 material, it seems. So, yeah, would you say that that's contributing to you not getting games personally? Are you kind of feeling that yourself, where you just don't really feel like playing N4, or is it because of, like you said earlier, work stuff where like you would play but timing has been difficult?
I mean, it's a little bit of all of the above. Work stuff's been making it kind of hard in general for games, but for Infinity specifically, it's also kind of like, we've been on the N5 is coming train for months at this point,
It's been
and
a bit.
we've now missed 2 proposed launch dates,
Yeah.
and so it's like, okay, where's it at? Like, let's go, because to me it's kind of hard, and I completely understand where CB's coming from. Like they didn't want to announce N5 too early because they didn't want to see this big of a dip, but unfortunately with the delays, it's kind of led to that thing that they didn't want to happen in the first place. It is what it is. I also, think that, yeah, awesome. Don't release it till it's ready. It's just
Sure.
unfortunate that we're kind of in that spot of where it didn't line up and we're still waiting.
Yeah, and I agree that it has been rough. I feel like the October time frame was kind of a soft release period,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah,
don't feel
it
as
was
bad about that one.
October-ish. It
Yeah,
wasn't as bad as like it is November 18th.
right. Here's a
Now it's
specific
not
date.
November 18th, and now we're back
Right.
into it's gonna be December-ish kind of
Right.
thing. And the October thing, like, okay, did that getting pushed back surprise me a whole lot? Not really. Um, if you've been around anything with gaming, whether it's tabletop video games, whatever, delays are the name of the game there. It happens with everything. So it's kind of hard to put out a release date and keep to it, to the point where a lot of companies
Mhm.
just don't want to put out a release date. It's just, oh yeah, it's finally, it's ready and here we go. Totally
Sure.
understand that. It's just, like I said, this one it's kind of dragging a little bit, because it was Gen Con ish then when we got kind of the first
Ye
peeks at it.
Yeah, so
So
Gen Con / the Krug
so
is
that's
when it was talked about in the seminar, so late
yeah.
August.
So that's, well,
Or
Gen Con's early August. So
or
that's
that's true, yeah.
4 months. So right now we're sitting at 4 months.
Yeah. Yeah, so that I feel like that makes it hard to keep momentum for
Mm-hmm.
for the game, because it's not even that players aren't excited for N5. Like, oh well, I guess we'll get it whenever, and who cares? I feel like it's definitely people kind of chomping at the bit to get N5 and start playing. And so I think that if my interpretation is just that N4 feels like it's over now, and so it's time for N5.
Yeah.
But it's not time for N5 yet, so all we have is N4. Or
Mm-hmm.
I know that some people have been playing kind of a N4 with current units and pricing, but using the relevant rules changes that apply to things. So kind of a N 4.5,
Yeah.
like using the martial arts changes and using the natural born warrior changes and using the um things like that.
Yeah, and I can see that. I don't think that approach is really for me personally,
Hmm.
because this, like, I kind of want to go into N5 fresh and just
Sure.
take it all together, because with how this rule set generally works and how integrated in it, all the different special rules and stuff are, and how they interact with each other, and little pieces in here and there that we don't know about yet. Uh, I
Hmm.
just, for me personally, it's kind of like, I feel better just wait and just get the whole thing and absorb it all together, as opposed to trying to piece parts of it together. And yes, I'll get maybe an idea of how it works, but not the full picture.
Sure. Yeah, and I've done several games like that, but in the context of the Sandtrap box, so it's a little
Hmm.
bit different. But yeah, I think I've played. I've run three demos, and played a Sandtrap Battle Box game, and then I have more demos scheduled this week. So I've been playing like kind of the limited N5 that we're able to use for this purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think one thing that I think is kind of a good use of this time, potentially, at least something that I've been doing that I think has helped, is using it for hobby time. Like, okay, well, people aren't interested in playing, or you're not interested in playing, or what have you. But we've seen a lot. So we've seen all the vanilla factions, and we've seen new sectorials and things like that. But a lot of things, especially for the remaining sectorials, the majority of those things I think will be in most sectorials. Like, I don't think they're going to be losing a lot of non-mercenary troops. I think some sectorials will lose some mercenary troops, but I think all of them that have some will keep some. But that means there's time for painting or building terrain or things like that. So that's what I've been doing primarily. Is I've been painting up. Mostly, I've been really interested in the Kestrel stuff. So you can, if you're interested in seeing my middle tier paint jobs, they're on our Discord as well. So there you go. So I think that is a decent way to kind of spend that time where you're still kind of immersed in Infinity to some degree, even if you're not playing specifically. But what about you, Ian? Have you been doing any other hobbying, or have you had other stuff that you've been kind of doing to keep up with Infinity without playing?
I've been doing some hobbying, just not for Infinity.
Yeah, what have you been working on?
So I'm doing setting up to run a kind of a drop in, drop out BattleTech campaign. That I took all the missions from the 1986 supplement Tales of the Black Widow Company. It's the very first like scenario book that was released, and I painted up all the forces for it for both sides throughout the whole campaign. I've got all the record sheets all worked up, so with all of the different like damages and things like that, and weird quirks that are specific to this campaign. And then I just finished up the maps for it, which is pretty cool because we did some. I got the because the maps are again very old, and I don't want to use the originals, but we got good scans of them, and then printed those out. A couple of sets of them, but we got them on. Basically, it's like vinyl sheeting, like you would use to like wrap a car in.
Oh, okay.
So peel it off, stick it onto the backing board, and then use the extra copies, and we 3D printed like the hills, and then I cut the map off of the extra copies and stuck it to the hill terrain so that it keeps all of the hex numbers and things like that. So it's 3D, but still the 2D map on top of that.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I'll throw some pictures up on the Discord or something. But yeah, it's really neat. It turned out very well. So hopefully get that started up sometime soon. But that's where most of my hobby energy's been going right now, is to getting that set up and ready to go.
Nice. And just out of my for my personal curiosity, is this BattleTech war game or RPG?
So it's the war game, but I'm operating it RPG-ish. So for this supplement, how it worked is like the Black Widow Company and has their set mechs, but each mech has a specific pilot and has kind of a character kind of thing. Okay. So what I'm going to do is whoever comes in for a session, that's why it's drop in, drop out, whoever comes for a session, they get to play as the Black Widow Company, divide them up, the relevant forces up amongst the players, and then they get to play those. And I'm going to run the Op 4 on the missions.
Nice. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, and I think one other thing that has kind of helped me sort of pass the time a little bit is I am working on a slow grow league, and that's something that we're going to be running in our local area. Probably, it kind of depends on when N5 releases at this point, because we're not going to, if it releases mid or even late December, it'll probably just be sometime in January. That's almost certainly where we'll be anyway, because I'd rather do that than, have it come out, say, in 2 weeks and then play 1 week and then be out 2 weeks or so. I think that'll just be easier. So we can kind of keep things together. But yeah, I'm excited for that. I have been working on a sort of achievement system that I think is finished. Basically, if you're performing certain actions in game, you'll get points based on the difficulty, and there's a category for, various types of accomplishments. So we have like the Angus Awards category for having really bad luck, or we have like the Blade Master for various feats related to close combat and things like that. So there's a handful of categories and a handful of accomplishments per, or achievements, or whatever you would like to call them, per category. And so there'll be, small rewards for clearing out a category. Is kind of the idea.
And then with the new ITS pack, whoever comes in last in the league get the wooden spoon. The actual Corvus Belly approved official Infinity ITS wooden spoon.
Yep, exactly. It is not a fake. I know there's been a lot of fake information going around lately. Thanks, Keith, for doing that, for making all of these problems. Keith is in the northeastern U.S. super duper meta, and I know that he's had a hand in putting out some of the teaser art for the Achilles announcement. I think he did the fake Marat announcement, and has done like 1 or 2 fake profiles maybe. Anyway, he's a problem. You should stop it. But yeah, so I'm excited for that. I think that will be a good way to kind of onboard for the game a little bit, as well as just kind of showcase certain things about N5, because what I'd like to do is have a little bit of time to try and digest the rules, at least kind of like first pass or so. And I'd like to structure missions in such a way based on that, and hopefully with the ITS 16 Part 2 document, if that's out around then as well, I would hope, and kind of combine those into either slightly adjusted missions or maybe custom missions to kind of showcase new rules to N5. So maybe have a focus around certain things that have changed, which will, 1, introduce new players to those concepts, and 2, help existing players kind of realize that those things have changed, or that they're new and things you can do now. But a little hard to plan until full rules come out, so we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, as far as plans for the new edition, I know this is probably really easy for you, since this has already been decided. So you're going to be playing Shinden Butai, as our patrons have voted for such. Is there specific stuff about them that excites you so far, or are you happy with the results of that poll? And if so, what are you excited about, I guess, is a better way to ask.
No, I think it's fine. It's something essentially brand new, which we get relatively infrequently in Infinity. It's like, yes, we get new units and new profiles in existing factions, and it's not super often that we get like a brand new sectorial. Like, it does obviously happen, but overall it is the exception rather than the norm that we get new sectorials overall. So I'm excited for that, because not only is it a new sectorial, but it's a new sectorial filled with pretty much just across the board new units and profiles. So it's entirely new. Like, I'd have to go back and look at like the list of what they get, but it's like they even have
Karakuri
yeah,
and the Yaoji combat remotes.
yeah, because
And
the basic remotes are getting new ones.
yeah, I'm interested to see if those will be much different. I feel like they won't be, and that
Yeah,
the
but new
the
models, new models.
right. That's true.
But yeah, so it's like there's
Yeah,
very
mostly
very
new.
little. Yeah, that's an existing model, which is good and bad because right now I don't have I own everything and I don't have the models to play this faction because they don't exist yet. So uh, there's that. But I am excited for a lot of what I'm seeing in it. I think like what I'm seeing is it's JSA. It plays like JSA, but it's also different than existing JSA. Like
Hmm.
there is enough of a tweak to I feel gives it its own flavor. So I'm excited for that. Also, I feel like I just got to be an unconscionable dickbag and run max AVA Hatamotos with plasma carbines because I can.
All two of them.
All two of them. Duo them. Get the extra .5 burst. Let's go.
There you go. Did you
But
see
yeah,
the Tanuki team?
I glanced at it. Looked cool.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be, if you're ever bringing the Hatamoto, you're bringing the COC Tanuki.
Yeah.
It's an 18-point chain of command unit that has some decent fire team options.
Mm,
I'm like, that seems real nice for a super aggressive lieutenant.
yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff in it that I'm seeing that I'm excited to mess around with. I'm liking a lot of the newer, like ninja-ish units, operating a
Hmm.
little bit differently. Hidden deployment with no marker state kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm liking some of that because I think I don't dislike the regular ninjas or the Oniwaban. I think they're awesome, but I do feel like they tend to be very locked into like one play style of let's jump out and CC something, or let's jump out and grab a objective last second kind of thing. They, I don't know, the new ones seem like they have a little bit more versatility to them, which
The
is,
Koryami.
yep. And, the
Mhm.
trade off being that they don't actually have a marker state.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting. I would like to see. Well, I think backing up a little bit, I think the Bang Bomb equipment
Hmm.
is really, really cool for them because
Yeah.
one of the things that I know has come up time and again around ninjas is that why aren't they good at dodging? It's like because their main weakness is like if they get hit, they are in trouble,
Well,
but they're
because
not
these
good at
ninjas
dodging.
aren't a bit good at dodging. They're good at not getting shot because they have mimetism -6 and hidden.
Right, and it
New
feels like
ninjas are good at dodging.
mhm. Yeah. So I think that's really cool. I mean, you're throwing one die, so it's always, you know, kind of a toss up. But yeah, being able to dodge non-templates on on a 17 rather is pretty nice. Like that
Yeah.
feels pretty good when you're stacking it with. I think they only have Mim 3 on the Koryami,
Yeah, it's only
but
Mem 3. So it
still.
balances out roughly the same ish, just different bonuses and how they're applied. So Mimetism 3 with a +4 to dodge instead of Mimetism -6. It's,
Mhm.
I said, barring special skills or equipment, it comes out similarly enough. Um, but I like how it flavor wise is applied differently.
Yeah, I think that it's nice that it's a ninja that's not just a Mim 6 camo skirmisher that happens to be good in close combat.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's what ninjas, most of them end up being, especially the actual unit profile ninjas.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's kind of the same profile that everybody gets, except it has CC skills.
And yeah, the tactical bow on the one profile.
The tactical bow is unique. That's fair.
Yeah.
But
Not that
yeah,
I hardly ever see it get used,
it's true.
but it is cool.
But yeah, I think the Kuriyami is also like my favorite ninja-esque sculpt so far. I really like the last Oniwaban quite a lot, but yeah, like those are some of my favorite ninja looking profiles right now, or models right now.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited for all the new stuff for JSA for Shinden. I haven't seen anything that I'm just like meh about. Like all of it is, no, that seems reasonably solid. It's just a matter of what combination of these things can I take once we have like full sectorial rules, profiles, availabilities, and all that, and how because what we've been seeing, great, but we all know that some of that gets tweaked before launch.
Right.
What's the finalized thing? What can I take? But yeah, it's like Hatamoto's. Those are definitely like top of my list, just because the model looks really cool.
They are cool.
And I'm a sucker for plasma weapons. Like, to just screw you, dirty aliens. We're taking your plasma guns.
Yep. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of interesting profiles, and it's a lot of cool mobility skills. That's another thing on the Kuriyami. Like having super jump is really nice.
Yeah.
I like that it's mobile and can dodge well, and that just strikes me as more ninja-like. But yeah, they feel like they've got a lot of interesting tools.
I also feel like, while they obviously have some fairly strong offensive capability with things like the Hatamoto, I feel like they've above and beyond what JSA has already / in Oban. I feel like Shinden has a really strong potential defensive ARO game. Just with how many like models with mine layer there are between the Raiden and the Kuriyami, right? That has the viral mines.
Yeah, viral mine layer with infiltration. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so you got like that. You got the Raiden, which I'm so happy that those are coming back. Then there's just several other things where it's just like, oh yeah, there could be a very high potential for just strong defensive posturing with this list.
Yeah, like the Shizoku, the heavy infantry, seems pretty solid on offense or defense for that purpose. Like it's an MIM 3 ARM 5 BS 13 unit with a heavy rocket launcher.
Yeah.
Or if you want purely aggressive, you can take the APHMG. But like that feels pretty defensible. Like that's not easy to chew through.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've got some pretty cool stuff with that. And for me, I'm really on the fence. So many directions. Because I am really interested in Kestrel. I've painted up all the Kestrel models so far that have shown up. Now that we know that they have Nauf and Seforza, I don't know if I want to paint up separate models for them, or if I'm just going to paint like Seforza once and use him, because he's in like all of the armies that I play, it feels like. He's in OSS, and he's in Tunguska, and he's in, where is he? He's in one or two other places. Well, he's in Kestrel, which I plan on playing, and I guess one other place that ISS, which I have not started ISS. I have a fledgling ISS army, and I'm waiting for that to get updated. But yeah, Sephora is just like
I would just paint one. I wouldn't paint multiple. If I paint one, because most of the time he's gonna be Hollow Mass to something else anyway.
I guess you're right.
And then he pops out, shoots some things, and then gets destroyed because he's a credible threat, so they're gonna focus on him.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, he got some really interesting buffs. He looks really interesting right now. I like that that's kind of been a trend, it seems, from the spoiled profiles, is that the characters don't just feel like upgrades of a base profile. They feel like they are unique and interesting and bring a set of tools or abilities that you can't get elsewhere.
Yeah, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, and it's like, it either is a bit more expensive, or maybe it's just different and not better for a similar cost. But I like that, I don't feel like so far I haven't seen things that strike me as completely invalidating other options. But it's like, here is something that you can do, that this character can do if you want to pay the premium comparatively to get them, which I think is pretty neat. But yeah, I think that of the things that are kind of forefront of my mind right now, at least, Kestrel, obviously. And then I really am interested to see what OSS looks like, because there's been extremely little Aleph news. And also, it doesn't appear that they get a vehicle like all the other factions, except for Toha, which is in a similar boat, it feels like.
Because they are vehicles.
No.
They are vehicles for
I'm not taking that.
For digital consciousness.
No, I'm not accepting it. Doesn't count. I want a VH unit.
See, you don't get vehicles in Aleph because you have posthumans, and they're unique enough. They occupy that thing. They're like, nope, you can't have vehicles because posthumans that operate like nothing else exist.
Why are you like this?
I mean, I'm just salty. It's fine.
You're salty. Why are you salty? It's like, you're playing with all the shiny new toys. I want my hover drone. I want an Aleph hover drone.
That would be cool.
That's what I thought the K2 Auxiliary was going to be. It kind of fit in that slot on the list of on the vanilla Aleph list. But yeah, then it was shown to be kind of an alternate take on a Seki droid almost from O12, like a non-lethal 2-structure remote, or effective 2-structure remote. It's 1 and no wound and cap, but they're shock immune. And yeah, it's got just a bunch of non-lethal gear, which I think is really interesting. I think it's cool. I like non-lethal weapons that are potent. Like, that feels like it's a cool that's a cool type of unit to have, where their equipment or their ammunition is much more effective, but you're not actually killing things or necessarily taking orders. But that lets them have what would otherwise be really powerful equipment. Like EM is obviously really, really good against quite a few things, even if it doesn't destroy them. So I'm pretty excited for Kestrel. I am excited for Tunguska because they're getting new stuff. Also, the Kriza Borak is back to having its BS attack -3, which is awesome.
I know, it wasn't as radically overpowered as people were supposing. I'm like, no, that looks kind of just solid, but not ridiculous.
Yeah, the Kriza seems good, but it doesn't seem wild. And especially if you look at, I think it will be strong, but I don't, and I'll probably take it more often because it got a significant price drop. Basically, it changed to its previous profile in N3, and that was mostly it. It just changed back from Mimetism to BS Attack -3, dropped 9 points, and lost a pip of Fizz.
I think so, yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, Fizz wasn't wildly important to the Kriza.
Nope.
But yeah, I mean, still has the extra full burst. So this is an extra burst, not extra special die. I feel like I'm not going to be able to, when shooting with fire teams, I feel like we're going to have to do the and a half burst. I just don't see myself saying all right, so it's 3 and a special or something like that.
Yeah, we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, I'm sure habits will form before very long. But yeah, so I'm excited for Tunguska because they're getting cool stuff. Like the switchers look really interesting. I'm excited to see what the Triggermen do. The GoPod looks neat. And then Rama actually looks pretty sweet. And I have basically all of Rama minus a couple models. Like I didn't pick up Yada Hadad just yet, but she should be arriving in a little while. And then OSS, obviously, kind of my happy place. So it's like all of those look like a lot of fun, and I think I'm going to have to wait and see what they look like before I decide what to play, and I'm probably going to jump around a lot.
Yeah.
Which will probably be to my detriment.
Yeah, and I will say, though, that there's a little part of me that's a little sad that, like, I might have to sneak some tack into the menu here and there, because I've been asking for a Ariadna combat remote for a long time. And specifically, I'm like, yeah, let's just give it a autocannon because it's totally the Ariadne thing. And then they went and did it, and they actually made it better than I would have.
Yeah, like the Visceral looks really cool.
Yeah. I'm just like, why does this need to have Sapper and Neurocinetics?
And BS-12.
BS-12.
Like, that's like as good as any combat remote generally gets.
Well, like, and it's crazy to me because, like, the regular tractor mules are like BS-10, and then the couriers were BS-11, and they were real special because they had mine layer and were BS-11. And now we get this thing, and it's BS-12 with a neurocinetic autocannon, and it is great.
Yeah, it looks really interesting.
And Sapper. It has Sapper for no good reason whatsoever. It is fantastic. I just, oh man, I'm going to have to, sneak some games attack in just to do dirty things to people with this thing. It's so ridiculous.
It looks pretty solid. Like Sapper, assuming it still does generally the same thing, it's going to have mimetism and cover everywhere. It's ARM 2, Structure 2. Yeah. Like that's pretty potent. It's got the -1 to save rolls for all of its attacks.
So yeah, it's a damage 16 autocannon.
Yeah, with a light rocket launcher.
Yeah, just as a backup, just in case you're not in my good range for the autocannon.
Or if I really want to fire templates into something. Like, yeah. It's it's surprisingly good. At least it looks pretty great so far.
Yeah, I am very excited for that nonsense.
And good reason to bring a war driver and throw marksmanship on top of that.
Yeah, if we get to keep the Evo war driver, which I'm hoping at that point.
I would hope so too, but I could see it either way. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if it went away because they don't want it interacting with the Vistral.
Yeah.
But, like, it's not outside the realm of possibility.
Yeah. It's so perfectly ridiculous. I must have it. And the fact that TAC can take 2 of them.
Oh, was that confirmed? I didn't see it. But
that's come down from some of the Warhorse that apparently it's AVA2 in TAC.
It is nice.
At that point, if they keep the regular tractor mule and the courier that are both currently AVA2 in TAC, I will take 6 combat remotes if I have the SWC to pull it off.
That's a lot of 55mm bases.
I mean, that's only 6, and 2 of them don't even have to be in cover.
That's true.
The other 4 just hide behind total cover. Who cares?
Yeah, I'm really interested to see more of how TAC shapes up.
Yeah.
Because they're, like, I haven't had any real interest in Ariadna, but they are the closest for me. And, like, that's a really interesting tool in my mind. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of stuff to be excited about, and I'm sure that there will be a number of things that I'm going to gravitate towards. So yeah, so I think as far as your Shinin Butai stint goes, I think that as long as most of your games are Shinin Butai and all of your events, I think that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
Because you have to take Shinin Butai to anything that you are registering for, basically.
Yeah.
But I think that there's still room to squeeze in other stuff in between.
Mm-hmm.
So that means Shinin Butai for our Grow League, right?
That was the plan.
Yeah, I think that'll be exciting. The only thing that I worry about a little bit, I mean, not worry, but maybe am slightly sad about is that there won't be many models to use. Like I think you'll have the Sand Trap and Beyond box is probably where it'll sit.
Yeah. I
Well,
mean,
that's not too bad.
it's okay because I've got the old Raiden, so I can pad those out if I want to. Um, I've got the Karakuri, so there's that. I've got the Mechazoid, so we're good there. Regular ninjas, also good. And then the Tokusatsu, the the two Yaoji remotes and the Yao Zhaos are good there, and the Pangalung. Saito, Yojimbo, Yuriko Oda, like there's a decent amount of the list that I'll be able to cover, and then I can proxy other things if I need to.
For sure.
So I'm not super worried about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it'll be too bad. But yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm excited to get new people into the game and do some fun stuff with a little ongoing event to kind of kick things off and hopefully grow our community a little bit. It's
Mm-hmm.
always nice to have fresh faces.
Now, the one thing that I'm curious about, because you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen any preview information for this. The tag pilots.
No. As of recording, there haven't been any of the pilots yet.
Yeah, I'm real curious how that's going to work because a lot of the tag, well, not that we've seen a whole lot, but like the tag profiles we've seen seem like they really have the kind of the current tag pilot setup. Although the Seraph was very weird because it looked like the crab bot was just a peripheral at that point. It didn't like necessarily drop it off.
Yeah, it looks like the remote pilot rule is going to go away, and that it's going to be peripheral ancillary instead. Which from what that came out with the Longwang, I think.
Yeah. It was notable on the Seraph because it also had the Oxbot.
Yeah. I mean, that is definitely different, but yeah, I don't know. I think that the peripheral auxiliary, it doesn't. Here it is. It doesn't have to be a set distance away from the controller. It doesn't deploy with the controller, and you use the place deployable skill to drop off the ancillary. And then, yeah, as long as the peripheral is out and active, the controller can't be part of a fire team or a coordinated order. And yeah. And
so it seems like it's kind of a hybrid between like the current servant rule and normal auxiliary peripheral stuff because it sounds like it can activate at the same time as the normal one, and it's not like either the controller or the servant kind of thing. It sounds like it's both of them, and they can just kind of go off and do their own thing, although of course targeting rules would still apply. But
yeah, and I think only one will probably be able to do a given skill because the ancillaries don't have any weapons. They don't even have flash pulses like the remote pilots used to have.
Yeah. So I'm curious, just because we haven't seen the new tag pilots and how that'll interact. But just off the top of my head, it does seem also like having the ancillary remote pilots might actually. It seems like it'll fix the idea of when the remote presence tags would drop out and then the pilot would get killed, and the just repeated confusion in the community about whether the tag can reset to get the pilot back if it's completely killed off the board or if the tag is removed, kind of thing. I think this just removes it, and okay, the grab bot went down, tag's still there and just does its thing.
Yeah, and I think that it will just be just the one peripheral probably, and that I'm guessing that it will have a way to rejoin with the tag if it moves back into base, maybe? Or it might just be a permanent thing. It might just be that it stays out and you can't rejoin the tag.
Yeah,
but
I'm just curious on that because, like, if it grabs something and then brings it back to the tag for like equipment and stuff, because that was a thing that you could do in N4.
Sure.
See how that works in N5.
Yeah. Yeah, what's interesting to me is that the Long Wang is a man tag that has this kind of remote pilot.
Okay, yeah.
Because it doesn't have remote presence, but it does have an ancillary. And also, the Seraph is using the same rules for its ancillary. So I wonder if it's just that this is a way to kind of improve the remote pilot rule effectively and allow tags to more effectively be a specialist instead of it being all or nothing. Because, previously I didn't see remote pilots or manned human pilots get out of tags very often. I mean, occasionally, but very rarely.
I mean, I did it pretty often, but often because that was where my specialist was, and that's who was left because all the other specialists were dead.
Sure. But I think that this is a way to kind of improve that a little bit, where it can drop off this ancillary, and then it can go do an objective. It also has whip 12 instead of whip 11, which is nice because most of the current remote pilots are whip 11, and now the only both that we've seen are whip 12, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm sure that you say the other profile, like the Gorgos, it's its own thing because of the symbiote armor.
Sure.
So that one, like, comparing that one's not super
help.
useful. But yeah, did we get I'm trying to think, did we get any profiles for any other tags yet?
I think those are the only 3.
Okay, yeah, because what I'm curious about. So on the Long Wing, it does not have, at least from the preview, it does not seem to have a profile for the pilot.
Exactly.
So I'm curious how some of the other tags are going to go. Are they going to go to these ancillary units, or are the pilots going to be a thing? Especially because, like, there are pilot models. Not that means a whole lot. That could change very definitely. But I'm curious on that. But then with the tag pilot units that we haven't seen previews for, how is that going to interact? Is that going to be something kind of more like a Rem Racer kind of situation?
That's my thought.
Or is it going to be a, like, new mechanic where it's a unit upgrade that you pay this and then this pilot is attached to the tag and it gives it bonuses like the Rem Racer would, but it's actually a part of the tag. Can it get out of the tag at that point? Can it do whatever? Like, so we have no information on this, but I'm super curious because we've never had tag pilots as selectable units before. So yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking close to the Rim Driver ability, except that the model is not deployed on the table and is instead deployed like in a tag. And my pure speculation, my guess is that they will have certain benefits for the tag. That might be a bonus ballistic skill, or it might give them some other attack ability, or maybe increase their gizmo kit range, or maybe even give them an additional piece of equipment potentially.
The Salamandra pilot can hack while in the tag?
That would be my favorite. I would run it much more often. Yeah, killer hacker tag. It's just
the Magariba guard pilot cracks the cockpit and medikits somebody without actually getting fully out.
Right. Yeah, so I think that they will be upgrades that you can buy for the tags, and I'm guessing, I don't know, I could see this part either way. Either that they will have a regular profile and can dismount as per N4, or I could see them just effectively being an upgrade and that's it.
Yeah.
Like they
Either
just
way,
are part of the tag and that's what they
it's a
are.
new mechanic. I mean, we don't
Right.
know what it looks like, but I don't see this working any which way without being just basically a completely new mechanic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So I think that'll be really
think
interesting.
the REM driver is kind of the closest conceptually to how it would work. Just
Yeah.
whether or not the model's on the table and or Anchor or can get out of the tag. That's the big question.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of my thought on it too, is generally where it's at. Again, pure speculation, but that's kind of what I envision anyway.
On CB, give me my rules.
Right? Exactly.
Because like this is the stuff I'm excited for. Because like Shinden has a JSA tag pilot, and Shinden has the Mechazoid, and I want to know how these interact. Because I want to put the tag pilot in the Mechazoid and go ham on something. I don't know how. I just want to do it.
Yeah, and I imagine that the tag pilots will probably have a couple profiles, and you can pay different costs for the different profiles to add different upgrades to the tag.
And I don't imagine that they would generate orders either.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
That seems very unlikely, which means they'll probably be relatively cheap. Because they're just providing theoretically a small bonus. Now, it is a bonus to typically one of the stronger pieces you'll have on the table.
But hey,
yeah,
that stronger piece is already generating 2 of its own orders.
Sure, yeah.
So balances out.
There you go. But yeah, I think that we're just about ready to move to final thoughts. I know we've been kind of drifting around to a number of topics this time. But before we wrap up, I just want to give a shout to our patrons and say how much we appreciate you for supporting the show. And it's a great help to us for all of you that do that. And if you're willing and able to contribute to that as well, you can find us on patreon.com/metachemistry. And we offer a handful of incentives or benefits to show our gratitude for those of you who are able to contribute to that. And of course, everything that gets put into the Patreon goes directly back into the show. We're not taking this out to, pay ourselves or anything like that. Everything goes into equipment or software subscriptions or special show-related projects and things like that. And our Discord is freely available, where you can jump on and you can chat with us directly. You can post painted models. You can check out other people's painted models. You can wildly speculate about N5. You can ask for, list feedback and all that good stuff. So if you're looking for more places to interact with people over Infinity, feel free to check out our show notes description and join us there. We'd love to have you. And like I said at the top, you're entered in to win a $40 coupon code each month to Mo Games just by being part of our community. So with that, Ian, final thoughts on the last days, the final stretch of N4 into N5. Any last things you'd like to wrap up or talk about?
Not really. N4 is dead to me. That makes me wrong.
Taking a drink.
Here I'm trying to assassinate Devin remotely. No, like I said, N4 has been great. I love N4. It's been a really good addition. Don't get me wrong, I loved N3, and I lament some of the loss of flavor that went into N4. With certain rules. When the denesting was great. Now, don't get me wrong, the best N4 overall big improvement with smoothing out the gameplay and things like that, and denesting and everything. But there was something to be said about some of the things like optical disruption versus having thermoptic camo, and they did the same thing in effect, but they were done two different ways. And they had some little quirks in the rules to reflect that. And again, overly complex, I get that. But there's things like that that I did miss about from N3. Certain other ways like burnt state, like, oh, you have this fancy stuff, and I hit you with a flamethrower, and you survive. Well, you don't have the fancy stuff because I burned it off of you, but an engineer could fix it, like things like that. Sniffers were really cool to widen out your sensor area, and I understand they didn't get used a whole lot, but there was a lot of super cool flavor in N3 that we lost in N4. I still think N4 gameplay wise is the better edition over N3. Mm-hmm. That said, a lot of what I'm seeing in N5, pending us getting the actual rules and finalize everything so I can make this full determination, but a lot of what I'm seeing is the pendulum swinging back a little bit, and so we're getting a little bit more flavor, with things like the bang bombs to allow better dodging in a different way than just saying that you have dodge +3 or dodge +6. It doesn't affect the same thing. It just does it in a little bit different way. Things like that. I am really excited for that to bring some of that unique flavor back into the game. And honestly, some of the wonky, crazy stuff, like these new vehicle rules. Okay, I don't know how this is gonna play out. How it's really gonna affect like the shape of the game. But I'm here to give it a try because it's the way that it's being shown and the way that I'm understanding how it's supposed to work based on those previews. I'm like, yeah, this is interesting. This is new. There's some cool potential here. And also, again, vehicles have been part of the game since the beginning, but we've just never actually gotten anything outside of a motorcycle before.
Yep.
So it's very exciting seeing some of the potential and some of that flavor and just like the weird stuff coming back and expanding back out and but still keeping that like denested part of N4 and keeping things built onto the profile and so much of that to make the game relatively smooth to play, but with all the cool wonky stuff on top of that.
Yeah, I kind of agree that it does feel like it's moving back the other direction. I almost want to say regressing. I don't love that. Like for me, I feel like, so just to take Bang Bomb as an example, I don't love it. I think that it would be better to just be a dodge bonus instead of this is named something that doesn't bring to mind what it does. It is in fact a dodge bonus, but only under certain circumstances. I don't love that. I think that is just, I think that it is, I mean, sure, it's mechanically beneficial for a model to have that, but I think that would have been just better to have a dodge +3 or +4. And sure, it works in more circumstances, but one, it does what it says on the tin, and two, we don't have another rule that is a slight variant to something that we already have. So that's one of the first things in N5 that I've seen that I don't specifically care for.
And that is fair.
Bad.
That is fair. I will say though that for me, while I don't disagree with that, I do feel that a big part of N4, especially the latter half of N4, so many profiles across the game became so similar, and it just kind of made everything stale-ish. It was just like, oh, look, here's another unit with martial arts and natural born warrior. Here's another unit with that. Here's another unit that has this. And I'm not saying that that's not what's going to happen in N5, but I'm seeing the potential for there to be more interesting profiles through doing some of this stuff. That while mechanically, yes, just going with a straight dodge bonus would probably be simpler. I'm kind of wanting it to swing back to some of the more ridiculous stuff because of how stale a lot of the profiles ended up being in N4.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't specifically agree with that base premise, saying that there were a lot of staleness or repeated profiles. I don't think that it was specifically more the case in N4 than any other point in the game.
Mhm.
And also, I don't buy that, okay, well, because this model has dodge +3 and this model has bang bomb +4, these are distinct and non-stale profiles from one another.
And again, fair. We gotta see how it all shakes out in the whole.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's, to me at least, potentially more interesting this way.
It might be. And, there are still quite a few unknowns. And so I'm definitely curious, I'm sure everyone listening, to see the full scope of the rules and start to kind of piece things together. Like the vehicles or Tariq Mansouri, who have jump 8 inches / super jump 8 inches, or if you have the jump skill 8 inches and you also have super jump, is that not just the same as being an 8/8 super jumper? And is there a difference between super jump 8 inches and jump 8 inches? And
Well,
does
yes,
this?
one's a short skill and the other's not.
No. I mean,
I get what you're saying.
if you have super jump on a model with jump 8 inches, so like all of the bikes, for instance,
Yeah.
they have super jump, jet propulsion, and they have jump 8 inches. I would think that it would be super jump 8 inches, unless that it's only that they can do it during a long skill. Like if you do a long skill jump, you jump 8 inches, but why would you ever do that when they're 8 inches on their first move profile?
And you could super jump long skill for farther.
Yeah, so but then the alternative of these being 16-inch move models effectively, that's a big deal.
Yes, I agree. But if it operates how we currently understand it, they would not be able to declare attacks if they did that.
Sure, yeah. But that's just saying, okay, if they need to cover ground, like if you were going to, if you're just going to move when you don't, because you don't need to move shoot, sure, why wouldn't you fly 60 inches across the board, which feels like a lot.
And combined with the jet propulsion thing, I mean, I can kind of see it. Just it gives you that three-dimensional aspect, because like the bike's still going to be on this model that's like on the table when it's supposed to be like way up above. And so this idea of like being able to basically zip over and around buildings and terrain and stuff effectively freely, through the super jump and the jet propulsion and the 8 inches and all that. I mean, I see there could be a bunch of cool potential there, and then maybe that's what they're intending.
Yes, and that I don't inherently have a problem with. The part that concerns me is if it works that way, that means it works that way on things like Tariq. And I don't really like the idea of, and Legong. Like, I don't really love the idea of multiple infantry starting to get 8/8 move effectively.
No cover?
I guess, but that's the thing, is like you just won't jump if you are potentially getting shot at. You'll just run. But if you need to get to a spot, like that seems like a lot of maneuverability, and then you don't have the downsides of the aerial units in that case. So I'm curious to see how that actually shakes out. I don't think that's how that would work, but that'll be pretty wild if it does.
Give us the rules, CB. Give us the rules.
So I guess all of that, further tangent.
Put Devin's mind at ease and give me all the ridiculous to do just wacky stuff with.
That's right. I won't take any profile that has bang bombs or disco ballers or what's a who's it's.
Oh, disco ballers. So ridiculous.
Yeah.
And yet,
it is weird.
I am here for it. I'm just like, oh, a weird deployable that I get to turn on and off and go, here's my Eclipse zone. For why? Because. I'm just going to go with that. Because.
Yeah, and that's another one where it's kind of curious. Like, why is this not just an Eclipse grenade or Eclipse grenade launcher? Like, why place something conditionally, but then you can reactivate it, unlike other things? Like, I don't know. We'll see.
Deployable turrets.
Yeah, deployable turrets. That actually I find very interesting.
Yeah,
I think
I've been calling that one since we got the ITS nonsense.
Sure. But yeah, so I guess in terms of the vague premise of doing things leading up into N5 topic that we were sort of talking about this episode, I guess final thoughts there is, yeah, I think that to pass the time, and two, to kind of keep up interest, I think that it's good to find places for discussion, talk about new things that are getting revealed, participate in some speculation, get some painting done, build some terrain. You know, there are other things to immerse yourself in Infinity without actually needing to play if you can't. I mean, obviously, I think playing is better than not.
Yeah, play some other games as a palate cleanser to be fresh into N5 when it drops.
How dare you? But yeah, I think that there are lots of things to do. There's new Infinity media out. I believe there's a new book by Fire and Sword that either just came out or is about to come out. So I've heard good things about that. So there's certainly several novels out for other means of getting Infinity action going on. But yeah, I think that there are a number of ways that can hopefully help you and your communities kind of get by the twilight of N4 as it continues to drag on. But yeah, I think that covers it as best as we can cover it for now, right?
Yeah.
So there we are. Well, thanks so much for listening. I hope that you were able to glean something out of this tangential tirade. And on behalf of Metachemistry, this has been Devin.
And Ian. And that's the meta.